Hi, friends. Thank you so much for joining us today. Regardless of what it is that you're going through, and we are all going through something, some form of a transition, whether it be today we have a beautiful day and then tomorrow we have a slightly different day. There's always going to be certain challenges that we are met with. And when we're challenged with these things, sometimes we have to handle things as best we can. And the truth is always what sets us free. You know, sometimes there's certain things that are going on in your life. I mean, I'm on this platform and I'm still growing. And although there are going to be certain challenges that are offsetting your day, you're going to still have to bounce back and balance things out. You know, when I share certain things on this platform, they are to let you know and let you see that this is still life going on. You know, I could have a person who is, let's say we have a person who is on record. They're called a life coach. And they come to this platform and they're learning, and there's certain difficulties or challenges that we're all meeting, you know. And sometimes, like, there's a person who comes to my platform and they listen in and they take notes based upon what I'm saying, and they go back and they reiterate things in their own words. Now that's fine, you know. Hopefully they are growing from that, you know. But again, no one knows what tomorrow meets, what tomorrow's needs might be, what today's needs are, until they actually come and they are presented to you. And while you're being presented with different challenges, you have to meet them as best you can. Today we might see things and say, okay, I'm going to handle it this way. Tomorrow you might handle it differently. You make over 100 decisions in a day. And that is one of the reasons why it is important that we are eating the right foods and getting the proper rest. Now, I have fallen short of getting some rest. In some cases, even just really relaxing, because I've had so many different deadlines that I've had to meet. And that's fine too. We are all fine-tuning our lives. And no matter which way you do it, that is the right way for you, because these are lessons as well as blessings. They are things that are occurring to help you become the best you that you can be. Without the training, how are you able to meet the needs? Without having these experiences, how are you able to bounce back? Balancing means that you are going to have certain challenges that you're going to have to meet and you're going to have to go through. I can't speak about something I've not experienced. You know, having a family that is not as balanced as you want them to be, having people in your family or in your friendship unit that challenge you on every level. Yes, we've all been placed in different experiences and different circumstances. However, we are balancing, we are breaking the bands on it while we are growing. That is what is meant to be. That is what is meant to happen, to make you the better you, the best you that you can be. And that's the whole point. There are going to be people who are thinking they're trying to operate in the background by doing certain things to stunt your growth. Let those people do whatever it is they think they're doing. God sees all, and the balancing is what's really going on. You know, earlier today I presented some things on a platform that some people might say were uncanny. Well, you know what? I felt the need to present them because, you know, there are people, detectives as well as maybe agents, who are watching this platform, who need to know information that maybe they need and they don't have. Perhaps they need that information to close the case. I am going to do that. And that is my own prerogative, and that is my business, and that is what I am choosing to do. Everyone goes about things differently. However, what you have to look at is whenever you are coming together in a family unit, there are certain things that everyone is supposed to do in that family. And the main thing is to love. And if you are being disrespectful or stealing or hurting someone, then that means the rules then change. The rules have to change to make sure that everyone is held accountable for their actions if they're doing something wrong to hurt or harm another person. And when it comes to someone trying to take another person out, meaning to unalive them. That means that somebody is going to have to step up. Someone's going to need to have a voice. If I didn't have a voice up until this point, I might not be here to even present a statement. But because it is that I have spoken up, it has been harder for certain individuals to do certain things. You know, there are a great deal of people copycatting, and they think, oh, if I copy this person, I'm going to be popular, or I'm going to make $1 million. If that is the way that person believes, then it's only going to take God to show them the truth. Because other people, sometimes you could talk to a person, you could talk to them until they turn blue in the face. They are not going to change. You know, I reached the point where I needed to speak up because it seems as though people are playing games and they think that they're getting away with certain things. No, just like there might be a person named Regina who works in a different field of work, who has been working in the back end, working with her brother to have certain information that he should not have been privy to. And if you're breaking the law, then those laws that you're breaking need to be presented in front of the courtroom. And someone needs to see that you've broken the law. Regardless of who it is you think you did it for, you still broke the law. And we've presented different laws here on this earth, on this planet, in the United States, to make sure that people are treated fairly. And if you can choose, let's say you're a social worker, if you can go ahead and pull people's records and get information that should not be given to different individuals, or you protect your brother or whoever by closing certain records off to certain people because you have access to a computer, then you are going to be held accountable as well. And it is really very disappointing that some people feel as though they can violate people's rights and just continue to move forward. No. Whether it be a slap on the wrist or a smack on the elbow, you need to be able to be clear and concise and know that your rights should not be violated, no matter who the people are. No one should be able to pay someone off to receive information that is not supposed to be exposed to them. On this earth, we all came here for a reason. We are to help each other. And if we are not helping each other, what are we doing? Because if you're hindering another individual, you will be held accountable. And that is what we're talking about here. Sure, we are healing on this channel. Sure, we are trying to grow. But sometimes that growth, that adjustment, that transition looks differently than we might have expected. Who would know? I would never have even thought I would even be on this platform, but I was called to do it. And if this is going to be my job, then I'm going to have to do it as efficiently as I know how. And if I am to be made the example, then oh well, I'm going to be that example. But while I'm going through the example, I want fairness to be placed on my table before me. I do not want to eat the lies. I want to eat the truths. And I want to eat balance. I want to eat what is going to be provided. But if it's going to be provided in a bitter way, I no longer want it. Okay? People can present a plate of food for you. If that plate of food is in front of you, it should be presented with truth. It should be presented with honesty, growth. If I'm going to grow, then I'm all for it. If I'm going to be met with even challenges, we're all met with challenges. Again, our teachers are those challenges. Those challenges are to help us to grow further, okay? There could be a person who calls himself a life coach, and they're watching this channel, and they're saying, okay, what exactly is it that Lovely Being You is about, or Indigo Moon, whomever is presented on that platform. You're getting to know who the individuals are by their actions as well as their words. And I'm not going to present myself and saying I am so perfect. I'm being challenged just like another individual being challenged. However, I am trying to grow through it. We're all learning here. And while we're learning on this platform, it's almost like, you know, that little girl who's holding on to God's hand. They can't hold God's full hand, so they can only carry and hold that pinky. While they're carrying and holding on to that pinky, they're trying to keep up. In life, we are trying to meet certain demands. Our demands in life are going to be different each day, as well as different minutes, hours, or years. With these needs, with these challenges, we are trying to be the best people as we can possibly be. However, while we are growing, there are other people who are watching, and they might not understand. Maybe your presentation of an example, of even a problem, is to be presented on a certain platform so that people can see that in life, this is what I might have to go through. Now, it might not look pretty, because it's not always going to be pretty. However, whatever the presentation is, it is still growth. It is a way in which you see it. It is a way in which you are able to persevere. It is a way in which you can live vicariously through other individuals. You know, this morning I had to go to a meeting. And after the meeting, I had to meet this gentleman. And speaking to a person who is coming from a different background. Now, the gentleman was presenting himself, and he was talking about how he takes care of problems. And I'm listening to him, and he's telling me that his marijuana is how he chooses to deal with certain problems. To him, it makes it lighter. And I said, well, let's think about this a little differently. Perhaps maybe you can go by a body of water and just sit in silence, or talk to God about whatever it is that you're going through. Let's challenge that. Let's see if that might be a better way of handling it. Because you don't know. Sometimes you buy certain products and you don't know how, depending on who you purchased it from. How do you know that that's really pure? How do you know if someone didn't lace it with something else? Okay? I grew up partially in New York, so I've been privy to observation on certain things. Now, I don't smoke and I don't drink. Not ever have I, except for on a senior cut day, I thought I was going to try a beer. And even tried a cigarette once. That cigarette taste stayed on my tongue. It felt like for a whole month, excuse me. And I felt really guilty. I felt like everyone knew it. You know, sometimes we can get into our heads and we can think things in such a heavy manner. I'm thankful that I was that sensitive about it, because that's the reason why I don't have to worry about paying or supporting for cigarettes as well as other things now. Now, that might be different for you than someone else. My mother's experience was totally different. Every time she tried to smoke marijuana, someone died in her presence. And she took that in as that might be her fault. Everyone deals with things differently. But because I have surrounded myself, or should I say, God has allowed me to be surrounded by people who have made a great deal of mistakes, I've been able to watch those things and I've been able to grow through them. You know, I had an aunt who, she's still alive, an aunt figure, I'll say. And she was, years ago, she was smoking, and she could not beat the smoking habit. She was also on drugs as well. And somehow she just couldn't stop smoking the cigarettes. So the kids decided they were going to get together and put gunpowder in her cigarette. Now, honestly, this is the most unorthodox thing that you could ever do, I think, in some cases. But I didn't know what was going on at the time. All I knew is that everybody said, be quiet and watch. So I was quiet and I watched. I couldn't have been more than maybe 5 years old at the time. So I'm watching. And surely she went to take a breather of the cigarette. I don't know how you call that. And she inhaled, and she went to pull the cigarette from her lips, and pop, the cigarette exploded in her hand. She still had a lot of drugs in her system, so her hand was trembling. And as her hand trembled, and as she got nervous, she wasn't sure if it was the drugs or if this really happened. That's what made her stop smoking. Now, I'm not saying that's an orthodox way of doing things. I was one of the children who actually got a chance. I was front row seat watching this. But I know one thing, I never saw her pick up a cigarette again. Now, that could be good, that could be bad. Everyone's experience is different. I personally would have been too afraid to do such a thing. And secondly, she and I never really saw eye to eye. So if anything, I really didn't even want to be in that front row seat. I would have preferred to be behind her, because she was one of those people who had a quick hand. And she'd slap you and you'd wonder where the hand came from. You know, she was one of those people who was just really, I mean, she was really harsh, and then for her to be strung out on heroin, you know, she just had a lot going on. But again, watching people and knowing that have always been a bad thing in my eyes because I've, even growing up. I mean, let's just be quite honest. I learned manners from watching TV because people around me were not, they were not orthodox. They were not doing, some of them were on drugs. Some of them were barely making it. Some of them were unconscious half the time. I was raising myself and trying to push others around me to do the right thing. And this is the reason why I get on here and I constantly speak about how you should treat children, how you should not expose them to so much, because I was exposed to entirely too much. And that's the reason why I feel the right to be able to speak out on certain things, because of my experiences. I don't want anyone to have to go through what I went through, and I definitely don't want anybody's children to have to go through it. You know, how you have young parents and they might be young, but they weren't that young for you to really blame that. They just were not ready. They weren't ready, and they were doing their own thing. And sometimes when people are doing their own thing, they forget the children. They forget about how the children might be affected. I'm still healing right now, just as we all are. We're all healing on different levels, all going through different experiences. But the main thing is that we do need to talk about certain things in order to clear the air, in order to improve our circumstances. The thing is that my sister was trying to present the family as though it were perfect. Let's not lie to ourselves or anyone else. You want to be celebratory and saying, I want to give my parents an appreciation party. Go ahead and do that. But don't do it. Don't do it and act as though everybody's perfect, because we all know that half the time I believe I took on the position of parent. We were all the way out in Barbados, and everybody's upstairs having a good time. They said, you can go downstairs to the pool. We went down to the pool, and my sister and both my brother could have drowned. We were children at the time. And nobody, it was like you had to hold so much responsibility on your shoulders as a child. You barely know yourself, and yet you're taking care of other people and trying to do the right thing. I have a scar on my chest now. My youngest sister scratched me because I told her she could not go to a hotel party. Parents were out gallivanting around, and they heard a rumor that we were fighting upstairs. I never fought her. I wouldn't put a hand on my sister. If anything, I pushed her in the bathroom and closed the door to make sure that she didn't hurt herself, because she was going she was out of pocket. Now, was she out of pocket because of me telling her she couldn't go? When she called me the B word, that's what really made me challenged. So when she called me that, I pushed her in the bathroom and closed the door. She thought the door was locked on the outside. You can't lock a door from the outside, especially not in a hotel. You're locking it from the inside. But because she was out of control, she went crazy and started throwing things and breaking everything up in the bathroom. I didn't care as long as she was safe. Now the parents came later. Now had she snuck out and I was sleeping or went to that party and something had happened to her, I would have still been the one blamed. And this is what I'm talking about. The older children should never be so held in such a high regard or responsibility that they should have to take on all these different roles. Yeah, she scratched me, and honestly, the scratches she made on me, I call it a tribal mark, because I see it as it's meant to be there to remind me that I need to mind my own business and be focused on what I need to do for me before I could do for someone else. Because as a child, I was challenged in that position in a hotel. Had I let her go to that party, who knows what would have happened. But still, even to this day, she sees that as a negative thing. She's upset, she's angry. Everyone could be angry or what have you. I would have still did the same thing had I had time gone by and had I had to go back in time to correct that problem. I would have still done the same thing, because I had a great deal of fear that something would have happened to her, because she was behaving in a grown manner. She was not even old enough to be grown. And I don't care if there's a party going on in a hotel with children. Nobody remembers what happened after that, but I do. A child was in trouble behind that whole situation. A child did come out underneath. because someone was not paying attention and someone let that child go to that party. Again, it was a hotel, and we were children at the time. I was a preteen, I think I was a teenager, whatever I was old enough to be able to be in charge because my younger siblings were there with me. And had that not happened, that was a distraction because my brother and his cousin was up to something totally different. That one thing that happened between myself and my sister actually guarded bigger problems from happening in both cases. You know, I don't need to elaborate on that. The individuals who were there will definitely know exactly what that meant. But even my younger brother could tell you that all I did was push her in that bathroom. I didn't have to put hands on her, and I didn't want to put hands on her. One of the reasons why, even when I separate from my family, I'm not going to say things, or I'm going to try my hardest not to say things to hurt another person, because I know you can't take those words back. So instead, what I choose to do is separate myself from the situation. A person can argue all by themselves. If they do that, people consider them crazy, right? Well, let them argue amongst themselves. I don't need to be a part of that. When I see things are being corrupt, things are not being handled properly, I choose to separate myself from them because I don't need to be a part of that. I am healing, and I am working towards the goal of being a better me. If I sat back and argued with half of these people, we would both be probably in a crazy house, because people will pull you down to such a level that it's not even accurate as to how you even got there. Your best bet is to separate yourself and allow them to grow just as you will grow. But you will grow in peace because you separated yourself from that unpeaceful environment. You see a fight going on and you decide you want to be a part of the fight because you want to watch. Watching only allows more flame to come to that fight, because now people see a crowd drawing and they feel pressure to do something extra. That's also peer pressure. You know, there's so many people who come and go out of my life, and I observe. And some people I choose to say, okay, this was unhealthy. I'm not going to move forward in this. Some people you say, okay, I'm going to try. But I've done that most of my life, tried to help people, what have you. Sometimes people are meant to grow at a distance. You don't have to be a part of the chaos in order to corrupt it any further. You separate yourself and you grow within on your own merit, on your own growth, on your own path. The problem is that we continue to do the same things and thinking that there's going to be something different coming out of it. I am choosing to move forward, to grow, and to persevere. This is working for me. I'm at my happiest point. Now, I'm not going to say I have not been challenged here and there, but it seems like the same people are the same people are involved when it seems to be unhealthy, when it seems to be uncomfortable. So that is the reason why separating myself from them has proven to be a very good thing. Those individuals need to grow on their own, or grow whatever they choose to do. That is their choice. This is my choice. So when I say that it is lovely being you, it is lovely learning while you're being you, it's lovely growing while you're being you, and it is lovely learning and being the best you that you could possibly be. We are healing, we are learning, we are growing here at Lovely Being You. You have a wonderful one.